Hello, you're tuning into the English News Bulletin here on VTV International, and this is live from Hanoi. I'm Dương here with the latest headlines. Chinese ships continue to fire water cannon at Vietnamese ships. Later on, we'll have a look at a book on Vietnam's sovereignty over its waters that is being launched in Ho Chi Minh City. And later on, yes, Vietnam is also marking the International Children's Day, and we'll have a look at that later on. We'll now start the bulletin at the updates from the Vietnam Coast Guard on the current situation in the EC. Now, on Saturday, May 31st, China continued to deter Vietnamese law enforcement ships operating in Vietnam's waters. The Chinese vessels surrounded the Vietnamese fisheries surveillance ships and Vietnam Coast Guard ships and fired their water cannon at them. At one point, the Chinese ships came within 30 meters of the Vietnamese boats. Chinese ship number 285 is reported to have chased and then rammed into Vietnamese ships 6 consecutive times. This Chinese ship, escorted by 2 others, then fired water cannon at the Vietnamese ships. Vietnamese law enforcement ships continued to actively avoid the aggressive actions of the Chinese ships and are persevering in protecting Vietnam's sovereignty over its seas and islands. Now, Vietnam's permanent mission to the United Nations has requested UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon to circulate a diplomatic note from the Vietnamese Foreign Ministry to the Chinese Foreign Ministry. Now, this action would make it an official document of the 68th session of the UN General Assembly. The diplomatic note protests China's violations of Vietnam's exclusive economic zone and continental shelf as defined by the 1982 UN Convention on the Law of the Sea.
The document strongly articulates Vietnam's opposition to China's argument, which says that the placement of oil rig Haiyang Shiao 981 is in the Shisha Islands and, as such, is a Chinese territory. Vietnam reaffirmed that the so-called Shisha Islands, as China refers to them, is in fact Vietnam's Hoàng Sa or Paracel archipelagos, which was first illegally occupied by China in 1974. Vietnam has repeatedly requested that China remove its oil rig and escort ships from Vietnam's waters and stop all provocative actions that pose a threat to peace, stability, and maritime safety and security in the region. The country also absolutely rejected China's statement which accused Vietnam of setting up 57 oil and gas blocks in the disputed waters, including 7 oil and gas fields and 37 drilling platforms. Vietnam reaffirms its viewpoint that China does not have any legal or factual basis for its claims. Therefore, Vietnam has resolutely rejected this wrong-headed opinion and announced that all of Vietnam's operations are conducted in its continental shelf in accordance with the UNCLOS. The Vietnamese permanent mission to the UN asked the UN Secretary-General to circulate its diplomatic note as an official document of the 68th session of the UN General Assembly. On May 29th, the mission also issued a press release on the above-mentioned issue.
Attending the 13th Asian Security Summit, also known as the Shangri-La Dialogue, on May 31st, Defense Minister General Phùng Quang Thanh demanded that China immediately remove its oil rig from Vietnam's exclusive economic zone and continental shelf. He also reaffirmed Vietnam's stance of settling the issue through peaceful measures in accordance with international law.
Defense Minister General Phùng Quang Thanh said in order to manage risks that may cause disputes, all countries should share a common perspective on international responsibilities, especially the role and responsibility of major powers.
All countries should share the same duty of maintaining peace and stability. they should also show respect for international law and the United Nations Charter, as well as the independent sovereignty and territorial integrity of others. At the same time, they must not use force or threaten to use force to settle disputes. Furthermore, they should enhance cooperation on the basis of equality and mutual respect for mutual interests, regardless of whether they are small or big.
General Tang said the army plays a very important role in solving disputes between countries. Every action of each commander and soldiers must be strictly controlled, especially in relation to the use of weapons, ships, planes, and other military facilities. In answer to the question of whether or not Vietnam will bring China to the International Court of Justice over the matter, General Tang said that would be the country's final recourse.
We are considering the process of filing a lawsuit with the International Court. That would be our last solution. We are hoping it won't come to that and that both sides can sit down together. Vietnam and China used to face disputes over land ownership. We had to negotiate for years, but we finally settled it. We've also negotiated on the demarcation lines of the Gulf of Tonkin. Vietnam is committed to settling this dispute through peaceful measures.
Attending the Shangri-La Dialogue, Vietnam has showed the world its stance of settling disputes in the East Sea through peaceful measures in accordance with international law. In this way, the country is helping to maintain peace, stability, and security in the region.
Now, on the sidelines at the 13th Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore, Vietnam Defense Minister General Phung Quang Thanh held separate bilateral meetings with his counterparts from the United States, United Kingdom, France, and Japan. We have more now to follow.
In a meeting with U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel on Saturday, Minister Tang agreed to cooperate with the U.S. in searching for U.S. servicemen missing in action, or MIA, during the war between the two countries. They also agreed to deal with the post-war consequences of unexploded mines, or UXO, as well as dioxin in Vietnam. Regarding the current EC situation, both sides stressed the need to respect international law and attached the utmost importance to maintaining peace and stability, as well as maritime and air security in the region. Also on Saturday, in separate meetings with French Defense Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian and UK Defense Minister Philippe Hammond, all parties voiced the concern over tensions in the EC. Philippe Hammond affirmed the UK's agreement with the European Union's position, which calls on the two sides to ease tension and avoid unilaterally taking any action that may do harm to peace and stability in the region. For his part, French Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian backed solutions for the peaceful settlement of the conflict. On Sunday morning, Defense Minister General Phung Quang Thanh held a bilateral meeting with his counterpart from Japan, Ichinori Onodera. The Japanese Defense Minister also voiced his concern over tensions in the EC. He informed Tang of China's recent provocation of Japan's as Chinese fighters came within 50 meters of the Japanese surveillance plane. Onodera said he backs Vietnam's determination to settle conflict by peaceful measures.
Now, regarding tensions in the EC, Vietnam's marine police and fishery surveillance ships are persistent in their efforts to enforce marine law within Vietnam's continental shelf. Many of the officers at the marine police and fishery surveillance crew are in their early 20s and are ready to devote their younger years, they are saying, to the country's sovereignty mission. Now, the following report, we will bring you more details.
Vietnam's marine police ship 2016 is on patrol in the Paracel Islands, where China illegally placed the Haiyang Shiyou 981 oil rig within Vietnam's continental shelf. This week, an initiation ceremony for new members of the party was held on board the ship. For the new members, like Nguyễn Đức Hùng, this occasion is very special and meaningful as they were initiated while on duty in the islands.
I feel so encouraged and determined to carry out the sovereignty mission. Becoming a member of the party is a proud moment for me, and my dream has come true.
Most of the crew members of the Marine Police and Fisheries Surveillance ships are under 30. Captain Huang Van Lim on the Fisheries Surveillance ship 628 is only 34-year-old and has already logged off over 2,000 days on duty. His calmness and determination come to the fore when dealing with the aggressive actions of China's ships.
We are determined to follow our sovereignty mission, as Vietnamese people from all over the world are supporting us regarding this tense situation in the East Sea.
Young officials on board these ships are mostly characterized as calm, determined, yet energetic and optimistic while on their missions. The crew members are a closely knit team and often join together for entertainment activities such as birthday parties to show common support.
We regularly hold social activities for the crew members so they can spend time together outside their duties.
The story of a young patriotic crew of officers on Vietnam's Marine and Fishery Force ships will continue to encourage others to endure the sovereignty mission. These proud young people are the power behind the Vietnamese Marine and Fishery Surveillance Force in these tense waters.
A book by the name of Vietnam's Sovereignty over the East Sea, Spratly, and Paracel Islands will be launched in Ho Chi Minh City next Tuesday. Now, containing a wealth of historical and geographical evidence, this book aims to categorically state Vietnam's sovereignty over the East Sea and its two archipelagos. The launch of this book will go a long way towards helping, it is said, the members of the public, both domestic and international, to better understand the current situation in the East Sea within a historical context.
The 400-page book, published by author Nguyễn Đình Đâu in coordination with Ho Chi Minh City's Vietnam National University, goes into great detail regarding the issues currently relating to the East Sea. Contained within the book is a map more than 200 years ago, which clearly affirms Vietnam's sovereignty over the two archipelagos. The complete map of the unified Đại Nam, published under the Minh Mạng reign in the 19th century, is compelling evidence of Vietnam's sovereignty over Spratly and Paracel Islands.
This map was released in 1838 under the Nguyen dynasty. At that time, our country's official name was changed to Đại Nam or Đại Việt Nam instead of the previous Vietnam. Many names currently used throughout the country, such as Hoàng Sa or Trường Sa, were applied at that time. Thus, the map carries significance in both legal and historical aspects.
The book also contains several world maps collected from navigators, geographers, Buddhist and Catholic missionaries from Western countries and China, dating back to the 14th and 15th century. And each of them shows that the Paracels and Spratlys are part of Vietnam's territory.
We highly value this systematic and objective study. In the current situation where China is raising disputes over the East Sea, this study confirms the legal basis of Vietnam's sovereign claim over the East Sea as well as the two archipelagos.
The publication of this book comes after more than 2 years of research with the help of the appraisal committee, several experts and historical sources. The publication of this document is a valuable legacy from a competent researcher of the East Sea history. It is our responsibility to edit it so that it can deliver its scientific evidence to the Vietnamese people accurately and clearly. The book's official launch is on June the 3rd at Ho Chi Minh City Museum with an initial print run of 3,000 copies. This evidence contained within its pages is expected to help domestic and international readers understand that the deployment of China's oil rig in Vietnam's exclusive economic zone and continental shelf is a serious violation of international laws.
Coming up now on our live edition of VTV News, assured investors continue their work in Long Man Southern Economic Zones. And later on, we'll have a look at how the country here is marking the International Children's Day with an Action Month. Do stay tuned.
Vietnam's varied charms are boundless. They will awaken your senses to astonishing wonder. From sight sound, from smell to taste. You will be touched in ways you've never thought possible. Vietnam is so charming, one visit is never enough.
You're back here on our edition of VTV News Live. Now, foreign visitors and overseas Vietnamese will now enjoy value-added tax or VAT refunds at 7 Vietnamese airports and seaports following the Prime Minister's decision back on the 30th of May. Now, accordingly, VAT refunds will be paid at 4 international airports, namely Nội Bài in Hanoi, Tân Sơn Nhất in Ho Chi Minh City, as well as the airports in Da Nang and Cam Ranh, along with the 3 seaports Khánh Hội of Ho Chi Minh City, as well as those in Da Nang and Nha Trang. And this will take effect as of the 1st of July. The Ministry of Finance has been requested to cooperate with the relevant ministries, agencies, and localities to implement this incentive policy. Now, Long An province is located in the southern region Foco Economic Zone and has more than 28 industrial zones, which attract some 1,300 investors, 500 of which are foreign invested enterprises. In the days of civil unrest following protests against China's actions in the East Sea, authorities in the province employed special measures in order to ensure that the businesses here stayed in operation.
In May, together with tightened security for investors, Long An organized many visits to FDI companies in its 28 industrial zones. These visits help foreign investors understand the Vietnamese government approach to guaranteeing safety for the firms.
Visit from the provincial and district authorities, as well as from the Industrial Zone Management Board, warmed our hearts. These were timely visits that really did reassure us.
When riots broke out in Bình Dương Industrial Zone, we didn't know how the situation would unfold. But the local authorities handled the situation sensibly, so the incident didn't affect us. There were no strikes or acts of vandalism here, and the initial unrest soon passed. The authorities even paid us visits to cheer us up.
Throughout May, Long An authorities paid 60 visits to FDI companies. Besides gaining a better understanding of the firm's work, Long An leaders also updated the enterprises on the favorable and safe investment environment that exists in Vietnam as a result of the government's sound policies.
When we first met them, they expressed concern for their personal safety and for their investment. However, after we reassured them with information on the government's countermeasures, they were much happier and felt safe to continue.
The fallout from public unrest following China's illegal installation of an oil rig in Vietnamese sovereign waters didn't hit FDI enterprises here. In fact, their production value and foreign currency revenue increased 2% and 13% respectively in the past month. The year-on-year statistics for businesses in Long An are equally impressive. All this is thanks to Long An's careful measures to safeguard its investors' enterprises.
Now today, June 1st, marks the International Children's Day all over the world. As June here in the country has been designated as an action month for children, a series of activities have been planned throughout the month under the theme of taking action for a society without violence and child abuse. Now at present, nearly 70% of Vietnamese children aged from 2 to 14 are reported to be either physically or mentally punished by their parents, babysitters, or family members. The Action Month's message is one for care of children in all levels of society. The campaign also aims to raise public awareness on the issue to ensure a safer and healthier environment for all children. As part of the calendar of events, many activities will take place across the country, including summer camps, children's books launches, as well as present-giving programs. A free vitamin A supplement campaign for children from 6 to 36 months also kicks off today across the country. Now, Vietnam was the second country in the world and the first country in Asia to sign the Convention on the Rights of the Child in 1990. The document sets out children's survival and development rights, as well as their protection and participation rights. Over the last 20 years, Vietnam has attempted to promote those rights. In particular, there are also participation rights.
This is a presentation on children's rights to students from Nguyễn Đình Chiểu Lower Secondary School, a specialized school for visually impaired students. Minh Hiếu, a 10th grade student, is introducing the book, Children's Rights, Our Rights, and explaining the UN's Convention on the Rights of the Child through different stories. Just over 1 year ago, Hiếu was one among 30 children who compiled the book, which is made up from the ideas of 300 children across the country. The pictures are colorful and the stories are easy to understand. We learn more about children's rights thanks to the book.
I find this book very useful. I've been to many schools and have seen many students reading it. I myself understand the rights of children better thanks to it. This book promotes children's rights effectively.
The book is a prime demonstration of children's participation rights and social inclusion in Vietnam. It is the outcome of a project conducted by the Vietnam Association for the Protection of Children's Rights in cooperation with the United Nations Children's Emergency Fund and the Norwegian Embassy. If children do not understand their rights as outlined in the Convention of the Rights of the Child, they cannot defend their own rights. That is why we have adapted the Convention to a thin and easy to understand book. We want children to participate more in society. In recent years, children's rights in Vietnam have been promoted on many levels. The National Children's Forum is one such example. In this forum, children can express their ideas and aspirations for the implementation of children's rights.
And now we'll take a look at the major news that made headlines over the past week.
On Monday, a Vietnamese fishing boat was rammed and sunk by a Chinese vessel near the Haiyang CO 981 oil rig. The Vietnamese fishing boat had 10 fishermen on board when the attack happened. Some Vietnamese vessels operating nearby managed to save all crew members. The ship was later towed to the shore for repairs, and the crew members returned safely to their homes. Later on Tuesday, China's oil rig Haiyang CO 981 was moved to its new position, which is 25 nautical miles southwest from Chiton Island, a part of the Paracel archipelago. However, the oil rig is still located within Vietnam's exclusive economic zone and continental shelf, over which Vietnam holds full jurisdiction. Over the course of the week, Chinese vessels continue to harass, block, and attack Vietnamese boats with water cannons. Reports from the Vietnam Fishery Control Department show that China is defending the illegal oil rig with dozens of vessels and aircraft, including warships.
China's actions continue to be met with criticism from abroad. Notably, on Wednesday, Japanese Prime Minister announced in front of the Japanese National Diet that Japan will cooperate with ASEAN countries to prevent China from using violence in the East Sea. Mr. Abe expressed his concern over tensions in the East Sea and stressed that Japan is currently working with ASEAN countries to implement legal measures to curtail China's aggressive actions in the East Sea. Meanwhile, United States President Barack Obama said during a speech at West Point Military Academy that the U.S. will force China to adhere to international principles and laws in the East Sea, as well as in other regions. Obama said it would not be easy for America to participate in the resolution of East Sea tensions, since the country's Congress has not yet passed the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. He also stated that joining this convention will increase American security and global leadership.
The 13th Asia Security Summit, or Shangri-La Dialogue, kicked off in Singapore on Friday. A high-ranking delegation from Vietnam, led by Minister of Defense Phung Quang Thanh and Deputy Minister of Defense Nguyen Chi Vic, attend the summit. Current tensions in the East Sea and East China Sea are high on the agenda during the summit. On the sidelines of the summit, the Vietnamese Minister and Deputy Minister of Defense have held separate meetings with their counterparts from the United States, Russia, China, Singapore, amongst others. At these meetings, the Vietnamese delegates expressed the concerns about the situation in the East Sea and confirmed Vietnam's determination in resolving the tension by peaceful means.
This week, the National Assembly continued its seventh session in Hanoi. Amongst others, the National Assembly deputies discussed the draft revisions to the law on housing, the real estate law, and the law on enterprises. They also commented on the amended regulations concerning the management and usage of government funds in business. On Friday, the deputies reached a consensus to add protest laws to the 2015 Law and Ordinance Building Program. It will stipulate place, scale, and agenda for protests to prevent conflict and vandalism to businesses and the public.
A peacekeeping training center was established in Hanoi on Tuesday to underline Vietnam's commitment to the UN peacekeeping force. Deputy Prime Minister Vũ Đức Đam, Minister of Defense Phung Quang Thanh, and UN Under-Secretary General Amira Haq attended the opening ceremony. Vietnam's Peacekeeping Center functions as an advisory and training agency for the Ministry of Defense, which manages the operations of the Vietnam Peacekeeping Force. Vietnam has also appointed its first 2 officers to South Sudan to begin the operations as part of the UN peacekeeping mission in the African country starting June 2014.
In Hanoi on Thursday, the Vietnam Center for Economics and Policy Research released its 2014 annual economic report entitled The Constraints to Growth. According to this report, although Vietnam's macroeconomic activities indicate positive transitions, challenges still exist. The report mentions that China's illegal deployment of the Haiyang-Shiyou 981 oil rig has posed certain challenges to the 2 countries' economic ties, particularly when Vietnam's manufacturing sector is closely tied to the Chinese market. This year's annual report has forecast a GDP growth rate ranging between 4.15% and 4.88%. Both figures are lower than last year's growth rate.
And now we'll have a look at your updated weather forecasts. And that wraps up this edition of VTV News. We'll be back again at 6 p.m. local time today for another bulletin. In the meantime, do log on to vtv4.vn for more updated news. Thank you for tuning in, and goodbye for now.